What's going on, button pushers? If you're new here, welcome to the channel. If you guys are coming back, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about a camera, the Canon R3, and if you guys already know me, this was bound to happen. Yeah, I made a video before saying I wasn't going to get it, but you know me, it just kind of happened. So I kind of want to make a few videos about the R3 actually, so we're not going to cover exactly everything. I want to make like a low light video, I want to make a few other videos like color grading R3 footage and all that stuff. But so today we're just going to cover a few things. Kind of just going to go over the camera as a whole, kind of what I think about it in comparison to the 1DX3 and the R5. I've been using it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, so I think I have an idea of what I want to talk about and kind of how I feel about the camera overall. So I'm not going to waste any time, we're going to jump straight into the video. So in comparison to the 1DX3, it is a lot lighter. It is so much lighter than the 1DX3, and I've experienced it myself and I was like, it can't be that different, but it is extremely different. The lack of mirrors in the R3 just completely changes everything. It completely changed the weight of how I handle the RS2 and whatnot. Now I still have to get kind of used to it, but it is so much lighter and I feel like I can shoot longer with less strain. In comparison to the R5, of course it is bigger, it has that extra grip for the vertical shooting, and that is something that I really love. So I love that 1DX3 body with the R5 features. Now as a weight comparison, it weighs 2.24 pounds, the R5 weighs 1.6 pounds, and the 1DX3 weighs 3.3 pounds? 3.17. Now let's go into the real details and the ergonomics of the camera body itself. The actual grip of the camera, this actual texturized part, is a little bit different from the 1DX3. It feels a lot smoother, you can glide your hand across it a bit more. The 1DX3 feels a bit more sticky, it feels like more handleable, but honestly the R3 one still feels good. It feels really nice. It's just that the 1DX3 one feels more secure in a way, and it's kind of that classic one that Canon has been using for all their DSLRs, so I guess it's a little bit different now that they're trying to do mirrorless. I feel like they're just trying to make it look a little bit more clean. Now using this, I do get kind of confused because the 1DX3 and the DSLR bodies all have their own thing, while the mirrorless R5, EOS R series have their own thing. So when I'm using my R5, I'm so used to the ISO being a specific place, so used to buttons like the view playback buttons and all that stuff in the same place, while on the 1DX3 I know where it is exactly as well, because they're two different bodies, feel completely different. On the R3 I kind of find myself all over the place a little bit, because I do use both the R5 and the 1DX3, and then using the R3 it's kind of just a mixture of both, and it feels kind of weird sometimes, just getting kind of lost in the buttons. But it isn't hard to find anything, it's just the fact that I know both and the R3 is just them put together. So I'm going to go over a few things that are shared from the 1DX3 and the R5 body and where they are placed on the actual body of the R3 itself, so to kind of give an idea of what the actual mix is. So from the 1DX3 we're getting the playback, the trash, the zoom button all in the same place on the 1DX3, right here up under the the screen. Of course, we get the beautiful design of the camera itself, and we have the drive AF buttons and stuff over here on top. We have the 1DX power switch. We have the little knobby knob thing here. Of course, the LPE19 battery as well, and just the overall body itself. From the R5, we're getting the mode button up top here. We're getting the actual memory card slot here, for one for CF Express, one for SD card, kind of just like the R5. The Q and info button are here in the same place. We're getting the articulating screen, one of the biggest things about the R3 that I love. The 1DX body style with an articulating screen is one of the biggest things that I love. Also, an electronic viewfinder, of course. We're also getting a USB-C and micro HDMI port on this camera. Now, I kind of wish it came with a full-size HDMI, because micro HDMI isn't the best, but honestly, I probably won't find myself using HDMI on this camera too often, but it could be nice for when I need it. But, gotta do what you gotta do. But I'm gonna say this again, straight out of the box, it felt so absolutely lightweight. I couldn't really believe it, and I feel like it might be Canon compensating for how hefty and heavy and big the glass is for their Canon RF lenses, because like the 24-70 RF is an absolute brick. They're probably compensating for the weight of the lenses themselves. There's a ton of new features like people autofocus, vehicle autofocus, animal autofocus, eye-controlled autofocus, which I probably won't be doing too much of, but it should be kind of fun. I'll, make a video about it another time. I've never actually tried it so far in the 2 weeks I've used it, and it does seem like something that could be nice, but I don't think I'm gonna rely on it too much. And I kind of use the LCD screen a lot more than I use the EVF, so sorry guys, I'm probably not gonna do too much on this. Canon autofocus is one of the best autofocuses that I know, and I absolutely love Canon's autofocus, and they did not disappoint with the Canon R3. The only thing that I do have issues with is Canon's autofocus in lower light situations. It does get a little bit iffy. It does kind of go back and forth, breathe often, and switch subjects, but it's something that it adapts to. Hopefully it does get better, and we'll see how it goes. But I feel like the Canon R3 is going to do a lot better in low light situations compared to the 1DX3 with the mirrorless capabilities, but I'm not too sure. We'll see. I'm super glad they kept in-body image stabilization instead of reverting back to digital image stabilization, because I really enjoy that non-wobble kind of look. Now, of course, it really depends on your depth of field and whatnot, but still, I really like in-body a lot more than digital, and it's just, kind of preference. So I'm glad that they have that still. One thing to keep in mind when coloring and whatnot, and if you want to use C-Log instead of C-Log 3, the Canon R3 only comes with C-Log 3. So that is something to keep in mind. I didn't realize that until I got it and saw it, but absolutely okay with me, to be honest, because I know how to color C-Log 3. It's fine. So the images coming off of this stacked CMOS sensor are absolutely amazing. The stacked sensor makes it a little bit better in low light. And I noticed that when I was shooting, my R5 footage seemed a little bit darker than my R3 footage. So, that sensor really helps out a ton. And I did shoot a lot of low light situations, so I'm kind of going to make a whole other video on that. So we're going to cover that a little bit later. But we're getting up to 6K RAW at 60 FPS, and that is something pretty freaking amazing. We're getting 4K 120, and overall, Canon's just pretty good with that, and hopefully I won't experience any overheating issues. I did mention that that was one of the biggest reasons why I probably wouldn't get the camera, but a lot of people told me that, hey, there's not really any overheating issues and whatnot, and looking into it more, there wasn't really anything, and I haven't experienced any overheating issues just yet, and I've only been shooting in 4K 60 so far, so we'll see how that goes in the future as I use the camera more. But as of right now, I haven't experienced anything close to overheating issues at all. One thing I love about the articulating screen is that I can shoot it at lower angles and whatnot, and that's one of the big things that I had about the 1DX3, is that especially when I was in tighter spaces, tighter situations, I couldn't hold it against my body and shoot because I can't see the screen. So now with this articulating body, I can hold it super tight, add an extra point of contact for stability and all that, and still be able to see what's on this screen. And I really love that, because you can't really do that with something without an articulating screen. Not only that, but with the portability, the articulating screen, it makes it perfect for YouTubers, perfect for vlogging, perfect for a lot of self-recording kind of stuff. Compared to the 1DX3, I would definitely rather hold this one up like this, because it's so much lighter and it feels a lot better in the hand, because it's not, weighing down and trying to break your wrist. And, after hours and hours and hours of shooting, it is really nice. So let's touch up on a little bit of the photography aspect of this camera, because it is a sports camera, and it does feel really good when shooting. And one of those things that I do need to mention is the silent shooting. A lot of times when you're shooting on DSLRs and whatnot, silent shooting isn't really silent. Like the 1DX2 and the 1DX3, silent shooting is still super loud. When I was shooting in electronic shutter in silent mode, I was shooting and I was just like, what's wrong with the camera? It's not taking pictures. It was taking pictures, and I didn't hear a single thing. And that I'm kind of new to that. I never use electronic shutter, so I was just kind of like, is something wrong with the camera? But it was shooting the entire time, and it was so silent. That's kind of amazing to me, and I feel like that's really good in situations like weddings, nature, sports, and places where it's kind of quiet and you need to keep it quiet. But if you don't like that, there's also a mechanical shutter that shoots at 12 frames per second instead of 30 on the electronic, and you know, I kind of have it just because I feel like I'm so used to hearing the shutter go down, and it kind of helps people know that, hey, I just took a photo, you're good to go. But I definitely will use the electronic shutter in situations like weddings or places where I need to be kind of quiet and keep myself not noticed. In comparison to the Canon 1DX3, I feel like the image quality is a little bit better because, I don't know, I just feel like the color, the image itself is a little bit sharper. The colors are really nice. The low light, the lighting capabilities are awesome. I feel like it's a lot better than the 1DX3, and I'm kind of happy about my purchase here because, well, I was starting to kind of hate the 1DX3 just for some random reasons, and, you know, just nitpicky after using it for a while. I feel like I just wanted something new. I just got too used to it. But like when it came to the 1DX3 versus the R5, I did find the 1DX3 was better than the R5, so I'm pretty surprised that I did find the R3 better than the 1DX3 when it came to image quality, video quality, and whatnot. Of course, also in photography, you have the eye-controlled autofocus, and again, I'm probably not going to use this. I haven't really touched it yet, but it is an awesome feature to have, and it's just really sick to think about. One thing about the body itself is that it doesn't have an ISO button. Like on the 1DX3, we get a button on the top that's labeled ISO, and you can control the wheel from there. We don't have that on the R3, so I was a little bit confused, and it does take a little bit getting used to because on the R3, I have this wheel as the aperture and this as the ISO, but here on the R3, it's a little bit different. So, you know, maybe I should just switch the R3 to what I have on my R5. Anyways, as I was using the R3 for the past 2 weeks, you know, I brought my 1DX3 and my R3 together, and I kind of found that I really enjoyed grabbing the R3 a lot more. I went to New York Fashion Week and shot a few things, and I realized I ended up leaning towards picking up the R3 more than the 1DX3. So I even took the R3, mounted on my RS2, took it off, mounted it back on. I went through the hassle of having to do that, and that's kind of crazy because I have 2 cameras for a reason, but the fact that I was able to just take it off, put it back on, and I went through that hassle means that I kind of enjoyed using the R3 a lot more than the 1DX3. So for now, 2 weeks in, I'm really enjoying the R3 so far. There's a lot of really cool features. There's a lot of really good images coming out of this camera. I'm going to make a low light performance video about the R3 because there are a few things I do want to note because, you know, I'm here hyping up the low light capabilities, but I feel like there are a lot of noticeable issues when it comes to the low light capabilities. So I do want to address those in a little bit. So we'll get to that in another video. I also want to make videos like how shooting a music video on the R3, taking photos on the R3, editing images, coloring images, you know, just a bunch of stuff with the R3 just to see, you know, break it apart and make it a little bit more organized for you. So that's going to be all for today's video, guys. I really just wanted to touch up, show you guys that I got the R3, kind of give you guys a few quick shots, a quick rundown, kind of what I thought initially, kind of what we're getting out of the R3 in comparison to 1DX3 and the R5, and just kind of my overall mindset towards it. So I am probably going to be keeping this camera. I really enjoy it. Super lightweight, feels really good in the hand, and the images that come about are really amazing, and it doesn't overheat. So that is something to keep in mind. So anyways, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Drop me a comment below. Let me know, what do you guys think about the R3 yourselves? And my cat is meowing. Anyways, guys, have an amazing day. I hope you guys stick around. Keep pushing buttons, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Oh!